I'm really looking forward to seeing both teams just scrap it out. I don't know if we'll see the exact same composition, but I'm excited to see what kind of a difference Baptiste is going to make in a fight like this on Horizon Lunar. I don't think I've seen him deployed here yet.
It's gonna be down to both of these teams' practices on this particular map because we've seen, especially there at the end, NYYRIKKI trying to default back towards more that goat style composition. Having the Zarya at the very last minute is almost never ideal unless you're gonna fully commit. So that's something we will most likely expect to see here on Horizon Lunar currently, as it is pretty much the go-to, especially going towards that second point, just scrapping it out, as you said, making sure you eventually get it through. On this first one, however, this is one position where we can see a lot of variations on both sides, be it most likely something like a Fair Mercy again, or even the likes of Widowmaker.
Well, we're not going to find out what they're picking just yet. We got to wait just a small bit longer, but then we're going to get a glimpse at least what the defensive side is going to pick. When you're coming onto an assault map, obviously, the attacking side, just because Overwatch tends to wait a lot longer to pick their final composition. You like to mess around and spawn, pick a Hammond and swing from the ceiling, and just generally fool around. The Mei, you like to see Virtus just trolling his teammates. It's nice. Lepa turns around and punches him in the face for dropping those ice walls. It's possibly the most irritating thing about playing a defensive side with a Mei on your team. If you've played Overwatch comp, it has happened to you. Unless you insta-lock Mei every time.
Wait, you're a Mei player? Oh no. What have I got myself into?
Hey, Mei is a good character.
I mean, I know, but as a Genji main, it's one of my most hated characters.
Ah, there you
So,
go.
you know how it is. But it is going to be a standard composition on the offensive side here as we look at a GOAT setup here. iRocket on that main tank, on Reinhardt right now, alongside Cloud, of course, on the Brigitte. And just see whether or not they're going to make any swaps now that they've seen this composition coming out of the defensive side. That is going to involve Baptiste, as you said, on the side of Napalm.
I don't know what Manse are going to go for here. I think ideally you want someone that's going to allow you to get up behind quick enough. Okay. Anatech taking a Baptiste. They're going to just try to straight up win the fight. Okay, so this is interesting, right? Where's Napalm going to be putting that immortality? Actually, he has a corner that he can deploy it in as well. So whilst it will be a relatively even fight just based on the fact that Manse are already set up, I feel like just trying to one-for-one fight this Bastion setup is not going to work out well for you. They both have corners. An Ice Wall, I suppose, coming in at least on the offensive side, but this is not looking too good. They're like the fact that you can't set up there, let alone that you've got Virtus harassing you with the Ice Wall, but even take him out of the situation. If he's not boosting you out and isolating you from your teammates, you're still going to be in a position where trying to actually push out, set up, you've got to put your shield down, get your Bastion set up, get your immortality field down, all the while you're being just barraged by Kapu.
And that's such a creative way of dealing with the Bastion too. Okay, you do have the barrier from the Reinhardt, you have the barrier from the Orisa. Well, what happens if you just boop the Bastion up top with a ice wall beneath him? It's exactly what we've seen there. At least 1 minute wasted on the attacking side, now down to 2 minutes and 10 seconds. And of course, making those late swaps too made it so that Manse on the defensive side have an ultimate advantage overall as well. So things not looking too hot here on offense. Anatech, of course, already ready to go with the Amplification Matrix, who would, which would enable all the damage to come through to secure this team fight again.
Here's what I like. They've managed to make it under. That puts the, NYYRIKKI on the back foot as they have to drop down and try to take these fights. Kills already going back and forth, but ultimately looking better for Manse than they are for the defensive side. Point already being contested as Napalm, I don't know if he's even going to bother using his ultimate here. He has no choice as he gets eliminated. To finish it off, Aka in there with a quick double, and that is going to be the point captured. There's nothing that can really be done at this point. NYYRIKKI have to play for point 2 defense. And I don't know where Kapu's going. I hope it's over towards the other side. Indeed, up where Orisa is right now is where you want to be defending. Popping your Bastion in there. You've got your shields. Now, the only thing about that particular position is that I don't think an immortality field can actually reach. There we go. That's better. Now it can be behind the corner and safe.
We'll see what they're going to do with it. They do have, of course, all those ultimates, as you said, lined up for them. 5, soon to be 6. So next team fight should look in their favor. There's really no excuse as to why they would get caught off here and not get that advantage. Whereas on the other side, they're just gonna grind them out, look to push for favorable trades, really, when it comes to those ultimates. Trade 1 for 2, anything else you can take. As we do see Snappy also going live with that Transcendence, which could be enough to secure a turnaround here, but we'll see whether or not that will be the case as the ults are flying in.
Oh, the Blizzard goes in, but Diva's able to pick up 2 quick kills. And although one's returned by Lacko, it doesn't get quite as much damage done. Cloud plucked out by an ice wall right now, just going to keep on spamming through. And this is so bad. They're out of the open, absolutely torn apart. Manse not looking too good right now.
Oh man, even with that big ultimate advantage, it's still all about the offensive side here, and really well executed, gotta say, especially when it comes to making sure they stay alive and they line up those self-destructs, because of the way Manse were positioned, that's one thing I didn't take too much into consideration, to be fair, that self-destruct is gonna be a bit of a problem, as we've seen. 2 quick kills made it so that Resurrect was committed, but it was far too late, and at that point, NYYRIKKI looking much better for that second point take. Now with 4 minutes and 12 seconds left in that time bank.
That's quite a lot of time to work with as we come over to the defensive side. I'm kind of curious as to what the setup is going to be now. A defensive Bastion, although it looked really good to start things off, I felt like it definitely could have gotten a lot more done. Because the problem is once they come underneath you, you have to drop down. You're no longer the one that's set up and that's holding down a position. You're basically switched over to the offense because you've got to relocate, and a Bastion on the run. He's got a big hitbox and he's not able to dish out quite as much damage as when he's sat down in a sentry turret.
And this is really interesting actually from the defensive side here, if they're going to stick with this, because not only is it a composition that's closer to what we would typically see about 3 to 4 seasons ago, I would say, if I recall correctly, with having that Junkrat this time around on the side of Cloud. The interesting thing with it is that, okay, as you said, if you go underneath, you are kind of forced to give up that high ground advantage, but everyone outside of Snappy and iRocket is going to be able to get back up if need be with those cooldowns, and we'll see how flexible they can really be if they're comfortable running this comp.
Well, we're going to find out just momentarily. It's, oh no, Virtus. He's been taken down straight away by a little bit of dynamite. Oh, Hepa was in a little bit of danger there. Caught out in the open. Well, watch out for Lacko. Look at this. They're already making their way towards this point. Kapu runs right on in, but Aka's clearing out every angle. This is the beautiful thing about having a Diva in play. The fact that you can just keep on left-clicking around, you'll locate any Sombra that's trying to evade you or come up behind you. Getting the ticks on the point, though, is the big thing for the offense. As long as they can go in there and drag these players back, you're hoping to pull them out of position where they're going to be a little bit more exposed. And sure they are, but now Lep has already been eliminated, so I wouldn't mind seeing just a little bit of a delay to allow them to regroup.
And that's a problem all of these dive-centered heroes are going to be facing, is you're going to go in, you're going to find that trap coming in from the side of Cloud, which is going to pretty much single-handedly make sure that you go down in that respective fight. So now, overall, while Aki does lose his mech, we'll see whether or not they can get more out of it, because Virtus did go down, so it's a 1-for-1 trade, but that Diva definitely a bit higher value when it comes to the overall scheme. Again, that was the trap. That was a little shutdown. This time onto Lepa, and now Bob even committed from the side of Mid-Hotel. We'll see what you can do with that, because at this point, it just seems like he's going to push the rest of the opposition away, and that's about it. Beautiful headshot. Committing on to that Genji connecting rather. As we will see 2 ultimates, both of the support ultimates at that available right now for the defensive side.
And they can keep themselves alive for a little bit longer, and with the opening pick going their way as well, things do start to get a little bit scary. You're just going to see the retreat coming in as... I mean, at this point, what are you really going to do? Your Kapu has also been taken out. The Sombra not able to get up behind and pull them back to that point or do anything. Not able to harass in any single way. Luckily, the rotation time's pretty good for Sombra, so it shouldn't make too much of a difference to the actual push coming in. But now, as we see iRocket putting the ultimate down, the damage is amplified multiple times over. This is not looking too good with 1 minute 20 on the clock. struggling to take the first point so aggressively doesn't set us up for great opportunities as we move to the next one.
It's gonna be down to whether or not they can get huge value out of that Nano Blade, because on the other side, we actually see Cloud commit with that Riptire, just looking to push them back. Almost gets the kill for it too. I didn't expect that one, but that's the big problem with Genji right now, is that, you know, as much as I love seeing big Genji plays right now, having the likes of the Dynamite go for that deflect and everything else in between made sure that he got the Blade with, what, 1 minute and 20 seconds left in their attacking round. So it's really not a lot of value, and they're heavily relying on this Nano Blade combo, I would expect.
Well, let's see if the NYYRIKKI defense is eventually going to be broken with what is essentially one final attempt. They're going to move on forward. Lepa comes in. He's going to dive on down, see if he can get anything done. That EMP is going to be really effective as well. Players jumping absolutely everywhere, but it's the red ones that fall and won't be getting back up. Anatek's already down, and the heals are not looking too good. It's only Snappy. Hasn't got the Transcendence to keep them alive either, as a Bio Grenade goes down. iRocket won't be healed at all. Snappy's down, and it's only a DMEC Diva to deal with, and lasts less than a millisecond. The point eventually going to be seized, but for how much longer can they keep up this offensive? Because 4 minutes 12 on the clock is what they have to contend with. And as you can see right now, they're already losing to that.
And the big problem for them is that they had to commit everything they had to make sure they get the point. And unless we see some big self-destruct plays from the side of Lacko, I can't see how they can take this one, because the answer coming out of the defensive side right now is looking very favorable for them, because Goat's gonna deal very easily with that Genji or anyone else in between when it comes to those dive comps. But as you do see a couple of swaps, we will see a retaliation swap, actually, if you will, coming in from the defensive side, answering with a Baptiste and Bastion of their own.
And again, that Baptiste's going to be able to pop thing. Okay, there's the damage just going to be countered by the ice wall going through. We're going to be able to pop the Immortality Field down the stairs safely, literally practically untouchable. Is it not up? He's not popping it yet. Cloud's in a lot of danger, eventually going to be kept in play by another shield going down, and at the moment just delaying time, and this is fine. That's all NYYRIKKI need to do at the moment. They're already winning the time battle, and once they stay alive, keep the blues pushed on back. What I'm surprised about is they're not rotating down to the right, down below, where the Bastion can't really do as much. Oh, this could be a very dangerous dive bomb. No, it's only going to eliminate the shields being returned right now as well, and there it is. Lepa's down with the shields gone. That's such a massive factor for the offense at the moment. You're trying to set up behind the shields, obviously, so even as Bastion gets rezzed, what's he really going to be able to do? Nothing but fall back, so it's pretty much a waste of a res.
And at this point, Lacko getting killed late there is going to just stagger things even further. And while, yes, the name of the game right now is get on top, farm those ultimates, and just get the first opening. It's still only 2 minutes and 17 seconds left for the offensive side. Not a lot of room to play with. No ticks were achieved there too once they got onto the point. So Virtus, it's gonna come down to what they can do with that Blizzard. Because right now, finally, they do make the approach that you were talking about, that I definitely think is favorable for them. Going for the side there, side room, if you will. But the answer, the rotation coming out of defense is pretty good too.
Yeah, indeed, a good rotation. I'm not really a fan of the Bastion on attack here. I really don't like that setup. You're just constantly at a deficit. Now, unless that ice wall works out pretty well, and you're going to be able to isolate some of the players. As you can see, iRocket's stuck out in front of the shield, but eventually makes it back behind. And even with the Immortality shield or field in play, eventually they'll be able to take it down. There were no shields to block it. Tank comes into play. It's not going to see too much of a result just yet. As the Diva battle going on up above, sees a little bit of a boost for Lacko, so he's able to do some damage. Cloud comes in with Napalm, and Epa, great kills as it's the healer's going to be removed. You're already going to see a bit of Transcendence pop there by Snappa. It keeps the players alive a little bit more, but there was no real threat to them. As the kills come in for NYYRIKKI, Aki on a quick double. They're going to try to return a little bit more as Lacko is staggered once more. A really awkward scenario developing. Look at Diva just chasing her down and eventually taking her out, and that's costing them a little bit of extra time. And in fact, that may take it from 2 quick attacks down to just 1 final attempt.
And even if they do take the point, the big problem they're going to have to face is the huge deficit when it comes to that time bank. So right now, one potential final desperate attempt coming in from the offensive side. I really want to see what Napalm can do, and I think he's going to be the key player with the use of that amplification matrix if Kapu is going to be enabled to take down the shields or anyone else in between here for the defensive side, or rather from the defensive side, because they're going to have the Earth Shatter. They're going to have their respective amplification field, and Snapping has already charged up to 54% towards that Transcendent Self-Destruct. Actually, the opener here going to be used, but so far it's actually iRocket, the one to go down.
Mortality field luckily down, so Lepa's not going to be dying just yet, even out in the open. We got to be careful though, because Kapu's just popped the tank and he's looking to isolate some of these players. We've already got D.Va being taken down out in the open. No one was able to save her. No shields to go down and keep her alive. Minatsu's playing a very risky game, just standing this ground all by himself. Shield goes down eventually. You're going to see a little bit of Transcendence from Snappa as he keeps these players alive, and they try to go in for a little bit of aggression on the back of it. Damage going to be done over to Lepa, who's eventually falling. Oh, in goes Lacko. Can he get any damage done? He's behind the shield as he gets D-Mech though. And the stagger doesn't even matter this time. It's an overtime. It's all over. This is going to be another one connected for NYYRIKKI.
Very nicely executed. Gotta give credit there to Cloud, especially on that Bastion, getting those snipes somehow on those support players, not only the Mercy, but also the Batiste and Snappy. Again, big plays from this guy. I mean, charging up those Transcendences in key fashion, and now with his last defense as well here. Only one tick was achieved on that second point from offense. Just goes to show how well practiced NYYRIKKI was on Horizon.
Indeed, this is a comfortable map for them, evidently, and now they've got the chance to close it on out as we go over to Hybrid. They're on the 2-1 at this point. What Hybrid map will we see come to fruition? That's the real question for me. With the point defense being so good for NYYRIKKI right now, it's I'm certainly giving them the favor to take this.
Just one map off potentially here from this best of 5. Find out soon enough which one it's going to be. It's a hybrid map, so this is another opportunity here for MANSE to bring out the superior plays and a potential win to bring us to that 2-2, because when it came down to it, with Escort, with Rialto, they seem to be very, very much so in their element, if you will, on that type of map where team strategy and synergy is more important than individual play. When you compare it to something like a Control, and even on Assault, it's more about almost like a round-to-round attack phases and how both teams execute. So now that we are moving to that hybrid setup, it seems like we're going to go to Eichenwald, and this is another one of those maps where we'll most likely see a lot of that Pharah come into play.
Yeah, indeed. There's just so much cover to play around, particularly on that first point, being able to work around the watchtower or the clock tower in the middle. You're going to be taking the Pharah Mercy for sure, and both teams have shown proficiency with it. NYYRIKKI are readied up, and we're only waiting for one more to pop on into it and get things rolling. And I suppose, coming into this, do you think there's any advantage on Eichenwald if you're going to be the first team to attack or the second, or is it just kind of going to be whatever? You get it when you swap over?
Most of the time, from what I notice, is just it depends on the individual, really, on what teams prefer. Some people prefer defending first, some attacking more so than anything. It's also whether or not they go, or rather shy away from mind gaming themselves. If they are on defense and they have a first bad defense, it can really swing both ways. So I don't know which one would be preferable for either of these teams. I think defense would be better because you generally are gonna not show your hand as much. You're gonna run something very safe when it comes to that first point. You don't really go for something too out of the ordinary because you want to make sure you stall things as much as possible, and in order to do that, go with something very predictable for the most part. Whereas on the attacking side is where you're gonna most likely bring something a little bit spicier.
I can kind of see, based on how these teams have been playing, a little bit of maybe a Bastion with double shields coming through, a Baptiste to heal, and then a Pharah Mercy up above. Kind of feel that kind of a setup coming out. Although we have seen some flaws with it. Even just the healing output in general. You got a Baptiste and a Mercy. You're going to struggle to heal your teammates, and especially if one of you gets picked off, you're in a world of hurt. The upside of Baptiste is if he's standing behind double shields, it's going to be pretty hard to pick him off.
Exactly, and the interesting thing is this is another map where we've seen Junkrat come into play in the past, and I wonder whether or not that's gonna make a return, considering we saw NYYRIKKI actually letting Cloud play that particular hero on defense. Could happen on the streets phase if it's gonna come down to it. However, as we will see right now, it's actually going to be NYYRIKKI on defense to start things off, and MANSE Esports on offense.
Indeed it will, and let's see what they're going to be rolling with. As to start things off, it looks like defense, okay. Yeah, we're seeing, not exactly what I said, actually. We're seeing Aka come out instead of with Orion. He's going to be going in for the Diva. But outside of that, I feel like this buy was... It's the Counter-Strike coming out of me. That's actually the first time this has happened. That's shocking. This composition coming out is not too surprising just because of how they've played before. They've shown that they like this kind of a setup. What I am a bit surprised about is the fact that Manatsu is setting up on the balcony there and not over by the broken car on the left side. I thought that's where they would try to take a little bit of a choke point, but I guess they don't want the opportunity for their opponents to flank around behind them.
Not only that, it's pretty much going to make things very difficult for the Fair, in this case Virtus, to find those angles and be effective right now, considering their positioning. But the problem is, once you take one domino piece out of the equation, it's going to quickly crumble there for the defensive side. So we have to see how flexible they are when it comes down to it with their positioning. And so far, actually, Kappa on that Ashe is going to be able to take down Cloud. It's a 1-for-1 trade, though, and with the rest coming through on the defensive side. Not sure if Hepa can get into position for a res of their own. Doesn't seem to be the case, so they're going to wait it out a little bit longer.
The hack coming in here onto iRocket, so no more shields to go down. That could make things a little bit scary for the Bastion, who's forced to back off, back into the room until iRocket's ready to pop another. Goes out, braces herself for a little bit more impact, and now things could get dangerous because look at the Bastion boost. He's going to get so much damage through this small little square. Being healed up as well as we go, keeping his health nice and safe. You're going to be careful of Lepa coming up behind, but he's eventually going to be forced out. As Manatsu's taken out from afar. No shields went down. They were a little bit too focused maybe behind them. A lot of damage being focused on the shields too. The immortality field goes down, but it's maybe a little bit too late. The heals go in for Manatsu, but progress has already been made towards the point as Lepa's going to be taken down. Actually, a lot slower than I thought. They're playing quite staggered at the minute. This is a very spread out composition. I feel like they just can't take the head-to-head fights right now with NYYRIKKI.
And it's surprising to see that they somehow still managed to find small advantages here and there by having Lacko be a very big problem for the defensive side, splitting their attention. However, as I said, when it comes to the head-to-head, they just don't have the manpower right now. But Lacko coming in with the EMP, he's going to set up a two-man connection there for the Rocket Barrage. Aki going down, but that's pretty much it for now.
Indeed, only the one connected. The DMAC in the follow-up. That shouldn't be too much of an issue. Oh, maybe it will be, actually. Hold on, the immortality field goes out in the open. That's going to be pretty dangerous as Lepa picks up Manatsu on the ultimate. Barrage is there, but easily picked off. Pretty much everybody can deal with the Pharah trying to do that. I mean, you've got a Lacko that can deal a little bit of damage. You've got yourself Kapu, Napalm also on the point, and Ashe and a Zenyatta able to easily find those picks. And now the little bit of a scout coming through from Lacko, pushing on forward, checking out if they're changing their composition, indeed getting some valuable information.
Oh, and interesting to see the double sniper comp on the defensive side. Something we've seen plenty of in the past, but paired up with iRocket on the Winston alongside Aki's Diva for now. But look at that, Lacko instantly being spotted out, is forced to disengage, but using that translocator, barely managing to stay alive. Beautiful sleep dart again, connecting this time on the side of Virtus on that Pharah. However, fortunately enough for him, he got slipped right out of that tower, right outside, so he was safe. Self-destruct committed, but it's a 2-kill in favor of the defensive side.
Yeah, indeed, the self-destruct sees at least a little bit of a reward as they're able to pick them off running away from it. Manatsu takes down Lepa on the sniper, and now things start to look a lot better. The Reds forced all the way back to their spawn. The attackers will have to live to fight another day as Lacko tries to get a position up behind to cause a little bit of havoc. Is starting to make her way up behind. Okay, so this could be a little bit scary. Actually got detected just there and translocates out. Doesn't want to be caught up in that fight. Disadvantageous one. Manatsu takes down Kappa, so Widow's not going to be winning at the fight over on the offensive side just yet.
Very nicely done to win out on those Widow v Widow deals, and some interesting swaps coming in from the offensive side. Virtus again showing his favoritism towards Genji as he go ahead for that particular pick right now. But do you see iRocket committing in with that nano boost on top? Is going to be able to stay alive, just pose pretty much a big distraction. as so far he's gonna go down a little bit too far in, but a lot of time delayed here, Mitch, and we only have 2 minutes and 18 seconds left on the street phase as we see Minato again with another beautiful headshot.
And Napalm's just been taken down, quickly gets rezzed, and now things could look okay, but NYYRIKKI keep on going. Minatsu's able to take one, Ake as well onto Lepa, as the advantage never really stems over into the attacking side.
And I think it's primarily down to Minato. He's been pretty much set up there on top of that bridge, or next to it rather, uncontested for the most part. And that's the big issue, is that realistically, it's only going to be Kapu that's going to be contesting him when it comes to that particular comp. Lako's going to struggle considering this amount of support Minato has to get in. Same with Virtus and of course Lepa too. So you got to have your Widow step up in this situation.
They could really do with a shield here. I feel like that would solve a lot of Manse's problems if they took out like a Rhine just to move on forward over to the payload. Cloud's able to take down Virtus. The heal goes in straight away. The revive. Minatsu still actually sitting up above Lepa, trying to find the kills, but Kapu's luckily going to be winning at that Widow fight, and this could be the change they needed. Although Cloud takes down Lepa, a massive advantage in play right now for the attackers. And it's looking like Manse will be pushing this at least halfway. They have one more team fight to stop it before the checkpoint.
And they can definitely do it, considering the fact they have the Nano Blade available, and EMP could be pretty much the cherry on top if Lako charges it up before the team fight starts. So we'll see how the defensive side will really spread out, especially now that actually NYYRIKKI, again, just going in solo. Finally, Aki coming in with the support. However, it's going to be Lako going down with the 6v5 man advantage. 39 seconds left. This is looking disastrous all of a sudden for the offensive side.
Yeah, indeed, Manse left without their Widow on the push forward. Zaka found that. Kapu's going to have to rotate back in, and they get one fight. They get one final opportunity to take this all the way. Now, Lepa can pull over towards the payload from behind and maybe drag them out of their high ground positions. The problem is they've all got ranged. Oh, no. Okay, well, never mind the problem, because ranged ability isn't the problem at all. We're going to see the Nano Blade come on through. Virtus manages to catch two on the back of it. He's going to be taking Aka down as well. This is looking a little bit better as time goes on. I thought he wasn't going to hit that. Eventually manages to make it down, but it doesn't matter. I mean, I don't get the logic of diving down towards the castle there, because you have to get on the point. Not getting on the payload means that they've lost. So, yep. Congratulations, you've survived.
It's, I guess, the factor of maybe just miscommunication. Maybe they were talking about how somebody else would have made it, and he didn't in the end. So he was going for the safe approach, considering he had what looked like, 15 HP or something along those lines. So yeah, going for the Mega and then re-engaging could have been the better play if somebody would have made it onto the payload. And as you said, the safer approach would have been to just dash towards it once that cooldown was back up, or just go straight up towards it.
Yeah, maybe get yourself a tick on it and stop it for a couple more seconds. Because once I saw him jump down, I thought he was going to try to crawl back up the wall and get over towards it. Use that as a bit of cover for his low HP, but evidently not. Here's where we see, once again, the defenders making their way over towards the defense for the first point. You can see in gold where they have to prevent it from going to in order to win. That's now the end of the map, over towards the bridge in Streets, right at the end of Streets. And it is going to be a very similar composition coming out. I didn't say bye this time. As we're going to see Lepa coming in on an Orisa. Kapu has got the Bastion to back it up. You've got the Virtus alongside Hepa on the Farah Mercy, and then obviously Napalm to assist with the Bastion setup and keep him alive, keep him and Lepa alive. So you've got kind of two wings of the defense right now that are trying to work this together.
It's an interesting approach, an interesting oh no composition, as they're already forced to commit that revive on the side of Virtus. That is definitely not the start you were looking for, Minato. As a result, already swapping over to the actual pick he wanted to go for, which is Soldier, as we will see Cloud drop pretty low, but we'll manage to stay safe and alive for now. And the better thing about this comp coming out on NYYRIKKI compared to what their opponents generally have is the fact that you still have Aki on the Diva to support that main tank, and Lako going down. That's already, again, the 6v5 man advantage, and this is looking very good for NYYRIKKI right now.
Yeah, it is indeed. As iRocket comes over, we're going to see a little bit of damage going down. The Immortality Field is popped and forced out of play. Now as they attempt to push on forward, to take this point, or to stop the point from being taken. They've no immortality. They've just got to hide behind the shield and hope that that works. iRocket getting the heals, eventually going to go in for the fight. Knocks Orisa off to allow at least one tick on. Okay, I like it. But he's eventually going to be taken down. That's the real problem for him, because he's dead.
Yeah, it's questionable whether or not that was still favorable. But at the very least, one tick was achieved, so small victory in that case. Snape getting hacked here finally is going to be able to commit that Bionade. However, Ake really needs to charge up that mech suit as soon as possible, because we do have iRocket coming back from spawn, and they do not want to waste any time right now, because on the defensive side, they have EMP good to go. They will have that ult on the side of Kappa, but it's going to be Virtus, who actually, again, is the first one to fall. Resurrect was available again, but Hack only commit, or rather the EMP coming through only on one target, and that's iRocket.
And it's already going to be faded away. The thing is, though, it's served its purpose. As we've seen Aka being taken down, this should be a successful defense. Rocket's even just trying to get out of there at this point. Actually spamming down some ammunition into the shield. I feel like there's a little bit of a premature tank coming out. He hasn't really got any angles on anybody. They're up on the high ground, but even still, Manatsu goes over towards the edge a little bit too early, so he's going to be taken down, and now all the kills start to go over in favor of the defenders. Lepa takes down Snap. You have got Aka being healed up, and on the point itself... Okay, he bails out, and he actually does get caught on the retreat. So just jumps off the edge to avoid being staggered too heavily. I do feel like a lot of ultimates used there that weren't really too necessary from Mance. Maybe just a small bit too early, but look, they still win the fight, so it doesn't matter.
Exactly, and I get the approach NYYRIKKI was going for there. You wanted to spread them up, you know, spread them thin, make sure Cloud has a different angle to Minatsu, but Minatsu with Attack Visor was completely ineffective, really, nullified by the barrier in and of itself, I think, coming out of Lepa, and as a result, just got a question their usage there. But now Cloud is going to be back up, but not for free, of course, as the revive was committed. Do you see that Hammond, the Wrecking Ball going in again, as will be dropping pretty low, but speaking of dropping low, Hepa is going to be going down.
Yeah, they're pushed all the way back into the room, so almost another tick going to be on the board, but eventually iRocket's going to be taken down, so he cannot push Lepa off again. Aka could maybe try just bailing over towards him. This is not looking too good as Aka gets demeched. There goes the EMP as well. Cloud not able to pop that barrage, as Anatek isn't even able to get over towards Cloud. Just has to sit there and wait for death to come. 25 seconds left. One final attack, if even. Cloud could maybe distract or delay a small bit, but with the ultimate in play, he's probably their best shot to actually make this happen. They've got to move fast, and presumably it's going to be iRocket going in to sacrifice himself to make sure they get this on the board. He's hiding up behind right now. 5 seconds on the clock. Now they're in there. Aka's going to be taking the first point of contact. Got a little bit of an awkward scenario coming in as Minatsu, once that shield's broken, will be able to absolutely delete everybody. Lepa in trouble out in the open. The immortality field comes in to save time, and as well as that, the Bastion's already shooting through the little field, getting himself so much damage with Cloud. What a barrage coming through. 3 on the board. Doesn't even matter though. Will his teammates be able to recover it? No, they won't. Virtus is shutting them down. Overtime ticking away, and time is gone. Mance takes it as we move. That's 2-2 now.
Oh yeah, this matchup just being extremely close right now, and it's primarily due to this mismatch, if you will, when it comes to individual plays and team plays, because with their defense on both Esport and of course right now on Hybrid, Mance have been absolutely stellar, and we've seen really the flaws come to fruition here for NYYRIKKI with these types of maps.
I'm assuming now at this point we're going to be swinging over to Control as the decider. You don't want the potential for multiple overtimes to be played out. And Control kind of swings towards a bit of a better decider, because it has to end in a victory. You can't just keep going. It's fairly even ground as well. But we haven't confirmed it. And anything's possible, Brunj. Anything is possible.
I mean, at this point, I definitely agree, considering the back and forth that's been happening. And it's interesting to see how, of course, when it comes to the Ana plays, it's all about Snappy. It's all about NYYRIKKI, but with Baptiste comps, and of course, having lock on that Sombra so many times, it's quite interesting to have the advantage in favor of Mance with that different type of setup, because NYYRIKKI, while they try to match them with their Batista their own, with their Bastion at their own sometimes on these maps where they lost, it was never enough. And even when they tried something a little bit different, they couldn't quite find the answer to this problem.
Well, let's see if they find the answer to the problem as we swing over towards what will be the finale, the final point. We're going to take a quick break, though, before that, so we can allow the players to take a little bit of a break, chill out, get themselves composed, and then move over to the final map. We'll be back in just a couple of minutes, and probably about 2 minutes at this point, with map number 5 of this best of 5.
Standing in a glass bowl at the end of a black hole, cold, lost and upside down. Faces swirling past me, all my memories rolling vastly, cold, lost beneath the ground. All done by my own hand, I allow my feelings to become sand. If you're gonna cut me down, do it quickly now, now. You can cut me down, but I won't stay for long. I'll grow back again, oh yeah, my roots are strong. This is not forever. Folks changing like the weather. Cold, wet, and all around. Toxic people being severed, like leaves falling in September. Cold, wet, and on the ground. You can cut me down, but I won't stay for long. I'll grow back again, oh yeah, my roots are strong.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back. NYYRIKKI taking on MANSE here in the final. It's the 5th point, the 5th map coming out, and it is Lijiang Tower. This is the most frequently played map in the IR scene anyways. Not sure about you, Brunch, but I've seen quite a lot of this.
Oh yeah. Especially when it comes to the deciding map. It's all about control, and generally speaking, it's all about Lijiang. Most of the time, sometimes you see a little bit of Oasis, but this time it was Oasis to start things off. So, Marketplace it is. Right-hand side, it is, of course, MANSE Esports versus Blue. Coming in here with NYYRIKKI Esports.
Well, let's see what's going to be rolling on in to start things off. As the point will be unlocked in 10 seconds, the first team to make a little bit of progress is going to be MANSE, but coming around the back lines, You gotta watch out for the Pharah booping you off the map here. It's not gonna happen just yet. A nice little attempt coming in from Lepa. As Hepa's super low HP, he can be taken down on the Lucio already, as this is where the big fights come in. Very quickly, you're gonna see things switch over into favor for MANSE, as they've already lost the healer over the NYYRIKKI side. Anatek's gonna be taken down. The fight's coming on in. Lepa's just being a harassment here. Jumps in and finds a couple of the players, throwing them up into the air, but not able to find too much after that. And even despite a man advantage, it's eventually gonna be pulled back. Both Lucios have been removed. But NYYRIKKI's is on the way back.
And of course, already we do see that Coalescence available for Snappy. However, Veritas will be brought back up with these Resurrect committed now for the side of Napalm, as the right-hand side of MANSE still struggling to find big enough of an advantage to get the control in their favor. Of course, they do have that pulse bomb, so eyes on Kappa to see what he's going to be able to do with it on, and as well which target is going to go for it, because the Matrix could definitely be a torn on this side.
They know that there's a Sombra somewhere nearby as well. They're desperately trying to spot her out, but that doesn't really matter. They're finding all the kills in the back of it anyways. Lucio's out of here. Good night, Hepa. He just got whip-shotted off out of this universe. We may be in Lijiang Tower, but he's certainly not. He's at ground level.
I mean, there is a street, if you look out in the distance on the lower hand side. So, you know, maybe he's just chilling over there, of course. But they do have 5 ultimates to their names soon enough, as we do see Napalm and Hepa charging up those important support ultimates. But on the defensive side, taking out Hepa is going to be big. However, speaking of big plays, it's the EMP followed up with the Rocket Barrage. However, it's a 2-for-1 trade so far.
2-for-1 trades indeed, and things are starting to look pretty good. All the ultimates popped in here for NYYRIKKI, but they're still barely hanging on to life. iRocket's about to be taken down as Winston, even though he's got the Primal Rage activated. That's not something you see all too often. Had to go in for a health pack, and he's going to contest it just in time. On the last tick, he goes in, but eventually it's going to be pulled over in favor of MANSE. 95%. That still means, I think, well, with a Lucio in play, maybe if they all die at the exact same time. But if a team fight goes in favor of NYYRIKKI, this could be it. This could be the end of the first point.
Most definitely, especially if you consider the fact that Minato is holding on to that Graviton. One key pick is going to be more than enough to get that team fight win, and of course, as a result, the point, as we did see beautiful stalls coming through, especially out of iRocket. Make sure they do push it all the way to 95%. Even right now, it's getting close to 50%, but triple kill coming out of Virtus for the big plays instead.
iRocket doesn't jump, doesn't leap. He simply crawls off the map. As soon as he falls over the edge, he just lets himself fall, go with gravity, because he knows it's all over. They still have plenty of time to reset and come in for another fight, though. On 95% right now.
They keep getting picked off, and that's the big problem they have right now. Yes, one team fight is all they need, but this allows the defensive side, in this case of MANSE Esports, to build up their ultimates and make sure that they do get it all the way to their respective 99%, and of course, potentially the cap. It's going to come down to these big ultimates. I want to see whether or not Lacko is going to be able to shut down the likes of Minato to not commit with that Graviton, as the EMP is going to connect onto 2 targets. Fall, though, is going to be good on the side of NYYRIKKI. Aki finds the first one, iRocket with the second. And finally, NYYRIKKI Esports should be getting the point back.
Snap and popping the more. Delay's going to keep them alive for a little bit longer. Lepa's not getting out of there. A little bit excessive. Okay, Graviton Surge for just one player. Why not? Minato comes in with the kills. And 95%. The stagger is actually super important here for MANSE to keep things going. Do they have time to get back over there now? That's the question. Just about. Yes, Lucio is the one to make it. He needs to touch that point, though. He needs to get himself in there, supported by Mercy as well. We'll at least give him a little bit more time, but they're just being picked apart right now. 2 players left. Mercy's still in play, so the heals are being constantly provided, but eventually he's going to be picked off. Lepa comes around the other door. Knock, knock. Who's there? Victory for NYYRIKKI by the looks of things, as it's only going to be a Tracer hopping around, eventually eliminated because there's just too many players. One more comes in. It's Lacko. They're taking out all the fast characters, and Lucio, look at that. Hepa is but a few millimeters away, but eventually he's just not able to make it. He would have died anyways. I mean, on like 10 HP as he tried to go through the door.
Yeah, it was a desperate attempt to, at the very least, stall things even further. Push that overtime bar again, but it didn't happen. And now, as we will move on to the second round, this is pretty much, for the most part, a repeat performance of what we saw in Oasis, first control map. However, props to MANSE to really make things difficult there for the side of NYYRIKKI, even though they had that Graviton. They hold on to it for quite a while, and they also hold on to the point for it about, what, 90% themselves too?
I mean, close but no cigar. That's the real problem. Right now, if you see Mans not being able to secure this right here, all the progress they've made will be null and void. I gotta find the victory. Oh, good night.
That's a good start.
Sweet dreams, Cloud. He's pop back up, but at least that's going to be the res already committed a little bit early. Hepa's going to be hacked, so no heals to come through. He's pretty low, but able to make it out of there alive. As Rocket just knocks Lepa off the map. Not something you see too often, the Winston being booped and actually dying from it. But already having jumped on in, he couldn't really do anything about it.
And now, with the first point cap again going in favor of NYYRIKKI, they're building up their ultimates faster too. You do look at the likes of iRocket, 60%, Snappy 65%. However, Ake will go down, get spotted out by the opposition. Virtus finding the second kill. That's a 6v4 man advantage. So finally, we do see MANSE stepping it up. And with this final kill onto Anatech, it should be their point.
Yeah, Ake not going to be the most effective res to come through, especially because the Winston's still in play. He'll be able to take her down quite easily, even though she's a quick moving character. Realistically, Sombra can't do much against a Winston, and especially not in the 1v1 as it was with no support whatsoever. Makes it just a little bit harder. We're trying to hit Virtus with rockets. That's never going to end too well, especially not from that range. We're going to see both Mercies pop their ultimates at the same time, but really, you're seeing a lot more over on the side of MANSE for their ult that's being popped. Kapu goes down nonetheless, though, as so much damage being connected right now by Sombra. Aka's getting that damage done, and a couple of kills actually come in, but this could be a little bit awkward. With Winston having primal range, he can keep himself alive for a little bit longer, get over towards that point, make sure that he can swipe them on out of there, and just with that extra HP, stop them from claiming it, delay time. That's his objective right now. Maybe not being too successful because he's not on the point.
Well, we'll see whether or not that's going to be the case, because at the very least, he did get quite a few kills, especially on those supports. However, he will go down, so will Virtus. Kapu is going to commit for that extension as well. It seems like that is going to be the case. Cloud picking up that double, and Ferd not coming through just yet, but point cap back in favor of the side of NYYRIKKI Esports. And Cloud popping off, will have that rocket barrage, but speaking of popping off, unfortunately for him, it did go down. Minato also being one of the key players in that last team fight, managing to find Laka with a pulse bomb of all things, and then following that one up with a kill onto a support too.
Cap is actually going underway. Okay. In goes the EMP. Lev is going to be taken down very quickly with no support coming through, no shield, no way out. He was completely trapped. But even with that, you've still got a lot of players here over on the MANSE side to try and get damage done. The hack goes in onto Lako, so he's taken down quite quickly. And iRocket getting the res, it's not too big of a deal. Except he's got to be careful of this Winston. He can't do too much against him. Charging on forward. But Winston was the one dealing the damage, but eventually... Oh, excuse me, eventually just going to go for the reset. Play over with his team. And they're going to go for this one more time. They've only really got one more attempt, though. It's going to be 85% by the time they actually get on the point.
Especially with the ultimates that are going to be coming in live here, especially from the defensive side here of NYYRIKKI. However, it's going to come down to Laka and whether or not he can get the EMP off to shut down the sound barrier. The answer is no. Snappy is going to be able to stay alive alongside Anatech, who whoops Kappa out of the map. It's a 2-for-1 trade. Last team fight, as he said, going heavily in favor of NYYRIKKI Esports. It looks like the series will so too.
I love the barrage on the napalm, but it's not going to land enough damage, so he is able to get over towards that point and even hacked out, delay it just a little bit longer, perhaps long enough for the rest of his team to get in there, as you've already seen Lepa pop the primal rage and try to just take these blues away from the point. They want to do something. Bob comes in as well to help. He could certainly be the change this fight needs, as the point's starting to be capped as well. Nobody from NYYRIKKI's there, and a clutch play. They managed to get it over into their favor. Could this be what changes things? Because there's still a lot of NYYRIKKI players alive, and they know that all they need to do is cap this and run that OT down. Napalm again going to try and get in there, but he's nowhere near close enough.
That's GG's. NYYRIKKI Esports are your victors, making this series extremely close down to the wire. Even though the score on Lijiang was 2-0, it definitely isn't indicative of how close these two rounds have been overall. So Virtus with the play of the game, however, unfortunately for his team, it wasn't quite enough to get him to win overall in the series.
Yeah, a really nice triple barrage we saw coming through, and It really is a shame. He caused the reset to go through. That was when NYYRIKKI just kind of dove off the map and slowly fell to his death. But yeah, it just wasn't enough. Despite all the kills going down, we needed to see just a little bit more from them. And in the end, I mean, look, sure, that last point maybe wasn't as close as it could have been, all things considered. It's been a super close series and definitely one that kept us guessing up until the end. And that's what you like. You hate to see these, especially best of fives that are just 3-2-0s and super quick victories. It's nice to see teams really scrapping it out like that because they had to pull out all the stops.
And if you definitely expect to see also top tier talent coming in from Suomi, from Finland, as we've seen in the past, especially with Overwatch, even in the Overwatch League, plenty of Finnish players, and these are definitely looking like the future right now. Players will most likely see in contenders and eventually even perhaps in the Overwatch League.
Well, we won't be seeing any more of them for a little while, though, because that's the end of the broadcast for today. It's been a pleasure to work alongside you, Brunch. Certainly learning a lot, and I hope to get to cast a little bit of Overwatch with you in the future.
Sentiment definitely the same, of course, and also shout outs to our producer and observer here on the side of
Yeah,
Dark.
we've got the beautiful Dark. You can find him over on Twitter. He's a shy guy, a modest guy. He'll probably deny having ever been here, but no, we just couldn't bring you all this action without. Let me find your exact tag. Dark_AV over on Twitter. Be sure to drop him a follow. I'm actually going to link it in the chat right now. Everybody, go and follow this young man. He's beautiful. You can see him in his profiler. You need him in your life. We certainly need him in ours to bring you that top-notch observation that you saw throughout this series. Without further ado, though, guys, that is going to be the end of today. We'll catch you next week with a little bit more Overwatch action. But until then, have yourselves a good night.